Our dogs' learning needs change as their life does. As they grow up, the way they learn and their priorities will change. Getting their needs wrong at these different kind of times could mean training feels hard. It might mean it feels chaotic. But at worst, you could even develop behaviour problems or even trauma. It's not just their age that affects their needs, but also their hormones change periodically, even the boys. So don't ignore that session just because you have a boy. If you have a rescue dog as well, they will be particularly vulnerable at different stages of their introduction into your home. So here is a guide to the various life stages to keep your eye out for, what you should be focusing on at these times, and how to get the best out of your dog during these life stages. So let's start with puppies. Up until 16 weeks of age, your dog will be classified as a puppy. And at this stage, your job is to focus on new experiences and socialization. Your puppy is built for play, and this is a great way to practice important skills they might need later on in a really safe way. So with their litter mates, they'll be playing hunting, fighting games. They'll be causing arguments with each other. They'll be escalating, de-escalating, learning how to recognize different styles of communication. This is a really safe time for them to experiment. They'll be expected to make mistakes at this time. So other dogs will go much easier on them if they do make mistakes when they're being introduced to older dogs. So this is a really, really important time for them. Now is also the time that puppies learn faster. So training sessions should include lots and lots of play. We know that the brain prioritizes experience that include play for puppies. So including that in your sessions means your puppy will retain much, much more of the stuff you're trying to teach them. This is a time for them to be normalizing their world. So they're learning what may or may not be a threat as they grow up. This is a safe time to learn to do that because they are sheltered by the protection, usually of their parents, or for your puppy, that will be your job. So they're not interested in any of their safety needs. They're not interested in how to actually get food. They're just interested in dipping their toe in the water, having a lot of fun and learning some new stuff that might become important in the next stage. So what should you do now? So don't focus too much on building up a big stack of cues. This is fun, but if you do use games that are designed that your puppy can learn through play at this age, take advantage of that. But really, calmness should be your priority. Don't allow them to get overexcited. We often encourage this ourselves by using our voice. We talk in that very high-pitched, squeaky voice that does make puppies excited. We try to encourage them to get excited when they meet new people, meet other dogs. But actually, what we really need to be starting to teach them now is how to kind of be calm and how to be bored and what to do with that. Because if a puppy is too stimulated all of the time, then they will find it very difficult to settle. So this is really important to prevent things like separation anxiety, and it will also prevent them from getting into trouble when they meet other people or dogs as they grow up. We should be normalizing life and life experiences as well. So they're learning what is normal. They will also be learning what things might be considered threats, and that will be important later on. So we're going to be prioritizing exploration and novel object type games. It's also essential at this time that any kind of training that you do is fun and reward based. We've already mentioned the importance of fun and play in that it will help your dog retain what you've tried to teach them much, much quicker. But also this is a time to build up resilience and confidence. In the next stage, when they become a teenager, they will need as much of this as is possible. Any kind of negative training methods, shouting at a puppy, jerking the lead, exposing them to things that are maybe a bit frightening, these things will all erode confidence and resilience, and it means that they will be on the back foot when they become a teenager. So anything you do with your puppy at this stage should be very, very reward-based. It should be very, very positive, because these are the kind of methods that will really set them up to succeed as best as possible when they go into the very, very difficult adolescent stage. They will need a very stable and strong support system as well, and using positive and reward-based techniques will boost that up too. So when they become a teenager, they will be able to feel that they can depend on you whenever they are feeling anxious. And if that trust hasn't already been built up as a puppy, then this could mean they might struggle in the next stage too. I talk about Maslow's pyramid of needs a lot. This diagram shows us how dogs prioritize their needs and how they make decisions based on things that they need at that time. As a puppy, that pyramid of needs is almost upside down because they're not interested at all in any of the important survival stuff that they will become interested in the next phase. But at this very early stage, really, it's all about that creativity. It's just about socialization and just having quite a lot of fun. The next stage, they will become an adolescent. And if your puppy's pyramid is upside down, when your puppy now becomes an adolescent, the pyramid is now trying to right itself. So at this stage, your teenager will be experimenting with lots of behavior. Sometimes they'll be quite puppy-like. Sometimes they'll be quite anxious and adult-like. So this pyramid, if you like, is just shifting and flip-flopping from one state to the other. This is a very confusing time for your growing puppy, who is now considered to be an adolescent from 16 weeks roughly up until about 30 months of age. So as I said, as a puppy, mum or you have been responsible for all of this really important stuff, the safety, hunting, fences, food production. They've took care of all of the really important survival needs. That time is changing. And your teenager now, they don't know that they're a pet dog. They are just responding to what their hormones are telling them. And as a teenager now, they are thinking about trying to take care of themselves. They will be thinking about all of the skills they will need and practicing those. So life really starts to get a bit real for them at this time. So sometimes you'll have that happy-go-lucky puppy, but sometimes you won't. They will be overtaken by hormones and biology, and they are now learning how to take care of themselves. So sometimes they'll be feeling very vulnerable and very stressed and very anxious because their skills are not ready yet. And other days they'll be full of confidence, they'll be full of play. In order to get through this part of their life, this life stage, they will need a huge amount of resilience and confidence. So hopefully you max that out when they were a puppy. That will make this next phase as easy as possible, because it means when their resilience is high, that anything that goes wrong, any bad experiences they have, they will bounce back from. Low resilience means behavior problems will start to be created, but high resilience means that they will shrug off bad experiences as just being one of those things and just get on with their life. They are already vulnerable to bad experiences at this stage, because if they're having a bad day, a low confidence day, then even simple, ordinary, nice things might be considered to be a bad experience. Stress presents itself in lots of different ways. So whenever your teenager is having a stressful day, even non-stressful things will just will take that effect. So what do we do during this phase? So this is a good time for some of that task-based training that maybe we just delayed a little bit in the last session. Still, again, using really important reward-based methods and positive reinforcement methods, because what we are trying to do is keep on topping up that confidence and those resilience. It will get eroded through this phase no matter what you've done. So the more we can do to keep that high at this stage, the absolute better. And what, as I said, lots of experiences can feel 10 times worse when your dog is in these anxious states. So using any kind of aversive technique or anything that is quite negative or a punishment style technique could well be taken not just at its face value, which is already kind of bad enough, but actually even worse. So that will erode that all very, very quickly. At this stage, your dog will be thinking about their future now. They're thinking about how to keep themselves safe, how to keep themselves healthy and fed and alive. So at this stage, what they're looking for from us is a nice strong routine at the front door. We want to not allow them to do guarding kind of behaviours, especially at the front door, but also at the fences, in the gardens, things like that. Sometimes these things can feel kind of funny and amusing when they first start, because this is our puppy starting to experiment with these behaviours. But actually, there's a really, really important biological reason why they're doing that. So we want to try and encourage less of those kinds of things, but a nice routine at the front door, which includes them, but means they are not really right up front there greeting people. They can see that you're in charge of that, will really, really help them to stay calm at those times. We definitely don't want to be messing with their food at this time. some types of training techniques will tell you that you should show your dog that you are able to take their food away, that they should be maybe submissive to you around food, things like that. This was a really, really fast way of destroying trust over food. So this is not a good thing to be doing at any time, but especially not at this time. This is the kind of thing that will trigger a resource guarding problem, because your dog is worrying now about how are they going to feed themselves. And if they feel vulnerable about food because people keep putting their hands in their food or trying to take it away or trying to make a point using food, then this can then become a source of anxiety. So we'll start to get things like resource guarding. And resource guarding that's been caused by this kind of behavior doesn't necessarily mean a dog will guard their food. They might not feel safe to do that, but actually they might start to resource other items. So you might suddenly find your tea towels are going missing, or socks or shoes. Maybe they're taking things out of the rubbish containers, the trash bags, and guarding them. So just because it's not food doesn't mean it didn't start from food. Resource guarding is an anxiety related to all resources, and that can include fences and safety and all that kind of stuff too. And it's often expressed in whatever feels like the easiest way to take control of some kind of resource. So we are setting clear boundaries, clear communication, and safety are the focuses at this life stage. Hormones. So I said at the top there that hormones will affect females and males. So this is for everybody, because when a female goes through a cycle, obviously there's big changes that happen. Their mood will fluctuate. They can be flirty one day and then not the next. They will act differently as they go through this. This is an important stage in their life. They're getting ready to be a mom at this stage. The body is preparing them mentally and physically for this transition, this new thing that could happen to them. So they will be acting differently. They might be gathering up resources at this stage because they're trying to make sure that when they do become a mom, when their puppies come along, they've got something to offer them, a safe place. They want to be able to be sure that they can provide food for their puppies. So these kinds of behaviours will suddenly become quite intense. They might start to protect their space more. Maybe they'll start peeing more. Escaping behaviours, resource guarding, as I said, will kind of increase. And generally, they might start to feel unsafe. They'll also be trying to attract the attention of male dogs. So this is why this phase is really important to your male dog too, because while she's going around and she's behaving very differently, she's going to be leaving her scent. He is going to be getting a hormonal response to that too. So he knows there's a local lady who is getting ready to have puppies, and she is going to be looking for a father for them. And that triggers thoughts, hormones, and behaviors in him. So don't think that just because you've got a male, you're going to be immune to this, because you're not. He might start to do some resource guarding. He might start peeing everywhere and starting to be a bit more territorial. He's going to start advertising to other dogs that he's going to be the best father for this this female's new puppies that she's hopefully going to want to come to him for. So not only that, he is going to be thinking potentially of escaping kinds of behaviors, tries to get out, and all he will be able to think about is that local girlfriend that he is hoping to make his. Don't underestimate how powerful that is. Reproduction behavior is right there at the very bottom of the pyramid. It's one of the most essential survival skills that dogs will have. It's an important survival need that dogs will respond to. They will respond to that before they will worry about safety, which is why a dog that's chasing after a bitch in heat will cross a road or plunge through a fence, things like that. So this is a really, really important time. And obviously that seems like an extreme case, but I do remember working with a dog not so long ago who the local farm bitch had gone into heat, and she was obviously advertising her status all over the area that they were working in. We had to pause our training sessions with that dog because he just could not do a thing that we were asking for. His brain was so distracted by everything to do with this female that was coming into heat. So 3 months we were on a break from that. And as soon as all of that was over and he was able to return back to just being a normal male that was settled, then all of his training clicked back in again and we were able to carry on almost as if nothing had happened. But this was such a powerful time for him that we just could do nothing with him. He wasn't able to get off his lead during that time. He was barely even allowed to go in the garden by himself during that time. He was so distracted. He remembered none of his training at all from one moment to the next. That's all he could think about, was fulfilling that reproduction need. So whether you have a male dog who is a bit like he was and gets very easily distracted and very easily pulled into that kind of reproductive cycle of a female, or you have the female that's going through all this stuff, and if it's problematic to you, then that is probably a good reason to maybe discuss about neutering, because no amount of training is ever going to balance out the need of that survival, that hormones, those reproductive needs. It's right there on the bottom of the pyramid. It's as essential as food. You can't train your dog to not be hungry, and you can't train a dog to not do that either. So if you've got your dog all the way through to being an adult, the pyramid of needs now settles. So during a teenager phase, as we said earlier, it flip-flops backwards and forwards between the puppy phase and the adult phase. When they've settled down to their adult behaviours and their adult age, so from anything from like 2.5 to 3 years on, then this pyramid settles down in its proper form, with the survival needs at the bottom and those creativity needs at the top. So now they're going to settle into a pattern of behaviour. So this is good for really trying to work through some rehabilitation, because your dog is not going to be so changeable in their behaviours as they were as a teenager. You may well have battled with the behaviour throughout that period, and everything you did has made a difference, but now you will find that actually it will make a much bigger difference. Whenever you're working through behavior problems, it can feel like you're on a roller coaster. Some days you're doing great, some days you're not, some days the dog is distracted, some days they're not, and it can be all over the place. But as they settle down into these adult years, then that straightens out a lot and becomes a lot more even. So you're going to get much more consistent progress. So this is also a really good time to teach new tricks and start to really kind of plunge into the formal training. They're now settled into their mind and body. Their mind was active as teenagers and puppies and very experimental. But now they are starting to settle. You maybe need to increase the amount of stimulation they get from other sources. They're not learning so many new things as they were in those early stages. The world is not as distracting and stimulating as it used to be. So now is a really good time to take up a hobby or a sport with your dog to replace that kind of stimulation that they're now going to miss. Hobbies that allow them to sniff, finding ways for them to explore and keep the mind active and stop boredom are really, really good things to be doing at this life stage. So we've gone through the puppy stage, those developmental life stages. Now let's talk about something that may or may not happen to a dog, and that is when they become a rescue dog. When a dog changes home from one to another, they go through a lot. And I think, though, we underestimate that a lot of the time. And this really is at the detriment of the dog. Many behaviour problems are created by not meeting the changing needs of a rescue dog. And I'm going to talk about them here now. And what I'm talking about here is the average rescue dog. This is not a dog that has suffered with neglect or very bad experiences. For them, these stages will take longer. And we're not talking about a dog that's been home to a family member or a well-known friend, because they will fast track through these stages. This is just a normal rescue dog that has been uprooted from one home for whatever reason, gone to a rescue or come to you. So for the first 3 days, your dog is really just learning if they are safe in this new place. They don't know you, they don't know where they are, they don't know your routines and your habits, they don't know anything about you or your family or your home or your environment. So this is a very, very scary time for them. So this first 3 days is just them trying to figure that out. I'm sure that you've given your dog a very, very wonderful and loving home, but even with that, they are still very, very vulnerable during this first 3 days. Their adrenaline levels are elevated. They are highly sensitive to new experiences, sounds. They haven't got used to your home yet. They can be reactive to stuff. Even very nice things will feel very scary to a dog in these first 3 days and can quickly implant a new fear. They are so vulnerable at this stage that anything can cause that to happen, and you won't know what that is because it won't feel to you like a bad thing. When we think of bad experiences, we think of things like getting attacked or car accidents or things like that. But actually, when you're in that very vulnerable state, even just the microwave going off while you're not paying attention could actually be considered to be a bad experience. So in this stage, everything is scary. and your dog is very, very vulnerable. So for these first 3 days, what for you to do is really as little as possible. Let the dog come into your home, let them decompress, allow that stress and adrenaline to subside. Just attend to their most basic of needs. They just need their food, water, toilet, sleep, that kind of stuff. Don't force any interactions. Don't try and teach them anything. Don't take them for walks or try to introduce them to your friends and neighbors. This first 3 days is just about letting them find their own way in your home. The less you do in those first 3 days, the quicker they'll realize they're safe and they will start to come out of themselves just a little bit more. And they'll be going into the next stage, which will last around 3 weeks. So the next 3 weeks are really about them starting to learn your routines and getting to know you better. They are feeling much safer from those first 3 days. So now they can really start to relax a little bit and figure out you a little bit. If there's any other pets in the house, they'll be getting to know them and they'll getting to know your garden, your routines and everything else. So they should be starting to get ready for some new experiences. Don't go mad, just take it easy, a few at a time, but they are still vulnerable to normal things feeling scary, especially things that might go wrong on their walks, at the vets, or even at the groomers. So we're trying to keep everything as calm and rewarding as possible at this stage to really be sure that we're not putting them into a situation that they might not be able to cope with. Just like they are only just starting to get to know you, you will only just be starting to get to know them. So you don't know what is scary to them. You don't know what they've been through much in the past. Even if you've had loads of information given to you, some of that stuff can't be trusted and you don't know any of the specifics anyway. So this is a real period for you to get to know each other really well, but take this nice and slow. So what are we doing in this stage? We're just starting to get back to normal, starting to get into your own normal routine. Urgent behavior issues can be addressed, but just urgent ones. Walks can start now, and you can start to introduce your dog to some calm family members. Maybe go to the vets if you have to, and the groomers if you really have to. But if these things can wait, push them back as late as possible because those things are likely to be quite scary. So only really urgent visits to them. Otherwise, save these things until you get to the next stage, which is going to last around 3 months. So we've done the first 3 days, learning that we're safe. The next 3 weeks was about getting into routine. This 3-month stage is about your dog really settling into themselves, showing their normal behavior, feeling a part of your family. Adrenaline should have normalized by now. Their behavior will be much more stable. And you'll have a good idea of who your dog is and what challenges you are now facing. So once you get to this phase, you can really start to build up a behavior plan. You can really start to work through issues that are there. You know what is not likely to change compared to what could. So you can start working through behavior. You can start engaging in training classes, normal walks and routines, whatever that looks like according to their age as well. Because a rescue dog can become a rescue dog at any age. Really, we've just learned all about how topsy-turvy the teenage months are. If you have a rescue dog during those teenage months, then all of these things are going to be double trouble. If your dog is a rescue dog when they're very, very small and a little puppy, then you'll be in that stage at this point. So once you've got into the 3-month stage, you're going to be doing age-appropriate stuff as well. And the very final stage, which I want to talk about today, is illness and injury recovery. Again, this could happen to any dog. This is not relevant to their age, but just like being a rescue dog, being a teenager and having illness and injury at the same time can really blow all that up and really intensify all of those problems. You probably won't have any control over any of this kind of stuff, but vets will often try and put off non-essential surgeries and things like that until well past this, not just because of the physical benefits, but there are mental benefits as well to doing this as late as possible. So why illness and injury? Well, illness and injury also causes stress. So whether the body is under pressure from illness, injury, or emotional stress, the reaction is still the same. Elevated stress levels make your dog almost as vulnerable as the rescue dog was. With those elevated levels of adrenaline, they feel vulnerable. And that's the key to it all. As the body is preparing to keep itself safe, this makes them more reactive to things that could be a threat, just like your rescue dog will be especially vulnerable and hypervigilant to things that could be a threat. So will your dog that has had some kind of illness or injury and is in recovery as well. This is why dogs bite people that are trying to save them, even people they trust a lot. It doesn't matter if it's an obvious thing like a broken leg or something hidden like an allergy or diabetes or something like that. Either way, the result is the same as it is with that rescue dog. Those elevated adrenaline levels will be really affecting how they react to stuff. So as with your rescue dog, you're going to be keeping things very, very simple while your dog is recovering. We don't want to introduce new experiences this time as much as possible. Obviously, there will be some that cannot be avoided. So for visits to the vet and things, that is unavoidable. You're just going to have to go through that. But anything that can be avoided, please avoid. Unlike a rescue dog, though, you will know your dog. You know the things that they love, the things that they're very relaxed about. You know who their friends are. You know what things they're good at. So that kind of stuff you can still continue to do. Anything they're very comfortable with, anything that you know that they won't get frightened by or couldn't be misinterpreted, that's the kind of stuff that you can be doing with this time. You can do anything with your dog at this stage that you know they are going to be fine with, that is unlikely to trigger a stress response and is not going to exacerbate their condition as well. That's really, really important. At this stage, your goal is just to prevent problems from developing or manage ones that are present. And that would be things like avoidance, because you can't solve any kind of behavior problem while your dog is in this survival mode. While their stress levels and their cortisol levels are elevated, there is nothing you can do to help them get past a behavior problem. This is why behaviorists will routinely and often ask for vet checks and to get the all clear from vets before they will start work. Physical stress causes raised stress hormones. So this is like learning to swim in a storm. It's almost impossible and it is not without risk. So the best thing to do is to wait until the storm is over, wait until your dog is feeling better and recovered, and then we can start teaching them whatever you would like to do. They'll make much faster progress. And there will be no risk either. No risk of causing things like trauma or adding more stress or making problems worse. So whatever stage your dog is at, hopefully that's given you a little bit of an indication about how you can approach their training and their behavior at those stages and why it's important not to get them all mixed up. I'll see you next video. Take care for now. Bye-bye.